Thank you for joining us tonight. And should I say good morning to anybody who is over on the other side of the world? Tonight, we're actually going to talk about romance scams. We've had a lot of people come to us recently who have been involved in a romance scam, still in a scam. Some have finished their scams. And Gayleen and I are going to talk about how it all starts, what they do, what they request, and how we can help you with what goes on in a romance scam. So here we go. Kia ora, Gayleen.
Hi, Cathy.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks, love. I was just saying that we're going to talk about the romance scams and how it all happens. Unfortunately, they're rampant, as we know, here in Australia, and not only around the world, but here in Australia, they're a very, very big problem. Mainly the romance scams. And with the romance scams, I've taken a few notes, so please excuse me if I look down. But with the romance scams, you'll find that most of them are either military or they're oil riggers, pilots, doctors who are working in the UN, businessmen, realtors, and also celebrities. And the way most scams start is that you will actually get a message on social media, or you'll get a friend request. And the message could either be flattering of your profile picture, or it could be, I'm looking for Joe Blogs. I saw your name and just wondering if you knew Joe Blogs. That's how it normally starts. Don't you agree, Gayleen?
Exactly, yeah.
That's how it all tends to start. Yeah, and they're very, very, very good at introducing themselves. The conversation is very nice. It's not overbearing. And they ask you if they can send you a friend request. That's the way it mainly starts. Now, with the scams, with the actual scammers themselves, they take their time to get to know you. And normally it could take a week, it could take a month, or it could even take days. It just depends how desperate they are. They tend to like women who are older, women who are widowed. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. They tend to try and friend request women who are a bigger person, because they realise that they probably don't have much romance in their life. And it's an awful thing to say, but that's exactly the way they work. In my situation, I was approached by my scammer because I am widowed. I made the mistake of putting on my profile that I was widowed, and still to this day I refuse to take that off because that's my status, and I do that in my memory of my husband. So with the platforms, that they tend to use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that's where I was captured, Google Chat, ChatGPT, Signal, Zangy, and even Skype. Can you think of any others, Gayleen?
I know years ago there used to be Viber, but whether that is still up running, I have no idea.
No, I don't know either. I haven't heard.
Maybe it's now gone. I don't know, but that used to be around as well, way back. Yeah, and of course Hangouts is now Google Chat, isn't it?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yes. Well, actually, Google Chat, that became Google Chat from Hangouts probably about 3 years ago, from memory.
Yeah.
I didn't have Google Chat myself, but yeah, I think that's when it changed over from Hangouts to Google Chat. When they actually they tried to get to know you very, very quickly, and they will ask you about your family life. The first questions they ask you is, are you single or are you married? Are you widowed? Which I find is rather impersonal because you don't even know the person, but they do that. And the next thing they want to know is, do you live alone? Do you live alone? If you own your own home, etc. So they're just some questions they will ask you. They don't talk about themselves for quite some time because what they're doing, they're taking notes and they're getting a profile of you. Now, I must say that with the scammers, you're not just talking to one scammer, you're talking to many because they work in a group. A lot of scammers do work in call centres, or they will actually rent out motel rooms because it's free Wi-Fi, and they will work from there. Can you think of any other places that they work from, Gayleen?
It seems to be mainly in buildings, hotels that they'll go into and set up the equipment. And it's not only a few of them, there's heaps.
There is.
And they're all clicking left, right, and centre.
And you know, and the worst thing about it is that with these scammers, and I hate using, and I do say scammers plural, some of them are only 14 years old.
Yeah, kids.
And that's horrendous. They're kids. A lot of people don't realise that, but they can start as young as 14. So it's just terrible. And so there are a couple of things, they ask you. Now, once they've got a dossier on you, then that's when they'll start telling them about themselves, and they will give you an example of what they do, what I said before about the occupations. And 99% of the time, the scammers are widowed. And they will say that their wife or their husband died in a car accident, or they had cancer, they died of cancer, wife died in childbirth, their husband or wife have left the marriage, they're on drugs, just absolutely fallacies that they tell you. And they will say, especially the military, they'll say that their children are in boarding school and they've got a nanny back home. Isn't that right, Gayleen?
Exactly, yeah. They will.
And they'll continuously prey on, they'll give you a sob story. So I can only go by my own experience with my particular scammer. He was leaving for deployment about 10 days after I started talking to him. And there was no money involved whatsoever. But as soon as he got to Iraq, that's when the money started. Now, they will start with romance scammers. They will start with a very, very small amount. And with my scammer, he just asked for $100 for Wi-Fi. I didn't know anything about scammers. I'd never been scammed in my life. I didn't know how they worked. With the military, their Wi-Fi is free. Then they will ask you, oh, the food is terrible, and I'm just starving. Well, that's another fallacy, because they have mess halls, their food is always covered. They don't need money for food. Same with all riggers. They will say that, there's the food is terrible and there's a barge coming you'll be able to buy the food off the barge. It's a load of rubbish. They'll play on you. They will also might even say that, we haven't got free pay TV, and I want to get into your Netflix if you've got it, and they'll ask you for your login for your Netflix. That's what happened to me. Logged into my Netflix, and once that starts, and it didn't even click with me, but with the locations, you'll see that they've logged into your Netflix, and it might be in Nigeria, it might be in Kolkata, in India, it could be anywhere. That should be a red flag. After a while, once they've tested the waters with you, and the fact that you've sent that first little bit of money, that's when the big money starts. And Gayleen, what's some of the excuses that they will give you to ask for the big money?
Oh, that they need it for emergencies, medical expenses, and especially if they've got children or something. They need it for kids for their schooling. They can't access their bank account. And that's definitely a red flag because they can.
That's exactly right.
Travel costs. Sorry, I'm just reading it off.
And just emphasising about that. Yeah, just emphasising, Gayleen, about that their bank accounts. Their bank accounts are not locked up. They can access their bank accounts anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And,
exactly.
And I'm talking about every occupation, including celebrities. Especially with celebrity scams, they tend to, when you're involved in a celebrity scam, you are not contacted by the celebrity themselves. You're contacted by the celebrity's manager or producer, and they will say that they will thank you for being a fan of their celebrity, and such and such would like to meet you, but you have to buy the fan club card. Isn't that right?
That's right.
And
no such thing.
There's no such thing. And some scammers will actually charge you up to $2,000 for a fan club card. Now, it's total hogwash. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. And no celebrity in their right mind will ask for money. It's just a fallacy. With the romance scams, just getting back to those for a moment, I really, really want to concentrate more so on military romance scams because they seem to be the quota of the romance scams with all those other occupations. But as I said, they don't talk about themselves in the beginning, and then they start to ask you the questions. And most of the time, the romance scammers, military romance scammers, are based in the US. Some are in the UK. And they will either say that they're going on deployment in Yemen, Syria, Iraq. I've even had Russia come up. Even Russia come up to as far as their deployments are concerned. And once they're on deployment and they've given you all the excuses, what Gayleen just emphasised, and another one is they will ask for money. They'll say that they have lost their weapon. You do not part with that weapon. You sleep with that weapon. You know, I mean, that's a chargeable offence. If you lose your weapon, you know, oh my goodness, there's hell to play. They don't lose their weapon. Or they'll say, and then after probably about a month, they'll start declaring they love you. They're falling in love with you. And it's all too quick for you, but to them, they know how to do it. The love bombing is intense, and you haven't experienced the love that they show you. It's beyond imagination. Is there anything you can emphasise on that, Gayleen?
Well, they sort of control you, don't they?
Well, they do. They do control
and
you.
They're jealous if you're talking to anybody else.
And that's when they start taking you off the site, isn't it?
Yeah. Gaslighting you. They reckon they're the victim when they're trying to get... Yeah, they think that they are the victim. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here.
No, that's okay.
And that's when they'll start isolating you from the platforms that...
And your family. And they will also say, don't tell anyone about our relationship. And they will take you from the platform, and then they'll take you to either WhatsApp, or they'll take you to an area where they will just chat with you continuously, either by mobile. You ask for them to ring you, and they say they can't make phone calls, which is another fallacy. They can make phone calls, or you ask them, please send me a video. Let's have a video chat. Oh no, I can't do that because my phone is broken, or it's not allowed. No, people, it's not right. It's not right. The things that we have heard, what they ask and what they do is, it's no, it's
mind-boggling.
Right. Well, it is mind-boggling. Now, after a while, when they've taken you off the platform and they've got you in their little area where they want you, that's when it becomes pretty serious. Now, when I say about seriousness, that's where the sextortion gets involved. And with sextortion, what I mean by that is that they will start asking you for intimate photos. Please, 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 don't go down that road. Don't. You know, I mean, they will try anything to get a personal photo of you, and they'll even ask you, can I please have a photo of you having a shower? You know, or can I have a photo of you fully naked? No, don't do it. And the reason for that is they do that because if they've got photos like that, they will start blackmailing you. That's the long and the short of it. They will start blackmailing you.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll say, okay, I've got this intimate photo of you. I'm going to send it to all your family and all your friends if you don't pay me $1,000 within the next 10 minutes. It's pretty rough and it's pretty frightening. And, of course, you're not in the right mindset, so they will do anything. So that's something that, please don't go down that road. Another one is when they keep asking you for money, and it can be thousands. They will ask you to take out a loan in your name, but you're sending the money from that loan directly to the scammer. Or they'll ask you, can you please, please, please ask your family? They never give up.
And then you've got the gift cards as well.
Exactly right. And we know, Gayleen, don't we, that the gift cards, they're untraceable. So
yep, they are.
You can't get your money back at all from gift cards. Excuse me, please. So the gift cards are untraceable. And
then comes crypto and the money laundering with it as well.
Yep, they will ask you to invest in cryptocurrency. I didn't know how to do cryptocurrency. My scammer taught me how to do it, and I started doing it. I only sent $10 and I didn't like it, so I deleted it all. One thing I will say, with my particular scammer, I'll scam through PayPal. Now, PayPal is an interesting one because PayPal has two platforms. They have one for goods and services, or they have ones for friends and family. Now, with your scammer, they will always say to you, can you please send money through friends and family? And there's a reason for that, and that is, and a lot of people don't know this about PayPal, if you do send money through PayPal, send it always through goods and services, because that money is guaranteed 100%. If you send it through friends and family and something happens, or you want to get your money back, you will not get your money back. They will not be liable for that money. I found that out because most of my scam was done through friends and family, and that's how I found that out. So you can lose a lot of money. So just remember that, especially with PayPal, if you're going to send any money, I'm not talking about scammers, I'm talking about in general, always send it through goods and services, because that payment is always covered. With PayPal also, when you're in a scam, the scammers will actually ask you to send it to an account that's not theirs. It'll be somebody else's name, and they'll say, can you send this amount to such and such? Cathy Brennan at virginalive.com.au. Or then the next person, they'll use, Joe Blogs at hotmail.com. So they'll continuously use different addresses, and the reason for that is that they are addresses of people who have been involved in money muling. There is so much involved. We have got a whole world of knowledge when it comes to scamming now. Gayleen, can you just address some other ways that they can actually trip you into sending money?
Also through emails. Emails is another one. Especially if there could be a money box sitting at an airport or somewhere waiting to be collected, but then they'll send you an email and want more money to free it. Or else they say, I've been locked up at the airport in a padded cell and I need money to get out.
You've got to pay, or you've been locked up in jail, you've been arrested at the airport.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They need the bond for the money to get out. Actually, talking about airports, that's a good thing to just come to our minds too. With romance scammers, they, especially with the military, there is this is my love. There is no such thing as fiancé forms. There is no such thing as a replacement soldier for when you're trying to get out of deployment. There is no such thing. If you refer back to my podcast that I did with Cesar Camacho, we went through these red flags. And he's still in the army, and it came from the horse's mouth. There's no such thing, as I said, forms to leave for deployment. Now, that was tried on me, actually, and he wanted $5,000, and I would not send that. And I remember I was lucky enough that I had the support of my daughter and my family, and by this stage we thought it was a scam, but I always told my daughter about this $5,000, and I refused to send it. It's just a load of rubbish. So there's no such thing as that. Or they'll ask you for money for an airline ticket so you can fly. So they can fly from their base out to see you, and they leave the camp, or they'll leave the oil rig, or the doctor will leave the UN and is on the way to the airport. And what happens, Gayleen?
He gets caught. Or he's broken down.
They get ambushed.
And I can't get to the airport.
Yep. It's the same.
And there's many stories. Yeah, there's many stories. So where they've gone to where the victims have gone to the airport to meet them, and they haven't turned up.
I know one victim that she was talking with her romance scammer for 3 years, and she paid for his airline ticket 3 years in a row at Christmas time to come out and see her. She went to that airport for the last 3 Christmases to pick him up, and every time something had happened. And he had told her that he was on the plane, he was boarding the plane, and something happened. So they will try anything and everything. And it is. It's just, and you keep paying all this money because you are so invested in this relationship. You're in love with that photo. And, of course, you'll pay that money. It's like the Stockholm Syndrome. And if you don't know what the Stockholm Syndrome is when you pay lots and lots of money for someone that doesn't exist. But as far as you're concerned, that person exists in your mind. With a couple of other red flags, and this goes for all scammers, they tend to stop calling you by your name too. What would they call you, Gayleen?
Babe, my queen, honey, dear, my wife, or husband.
Yeah.
And it just goes on.
Why do they do that?
Because they think they've got you around their little finger and lured you.
And it's not only that. And it's not only that. Another reason they do it is because they're not only scamming you, they're probably scamming maybe 4 or 5 other victims at the same time. So
exactly.
So they choose not to use your name, and they use those acronyms so they don't make mistakes. And with the scammers, as I said, they work in shifts. So you might have a scammer coming on, say, at 6 o'clock in the morning. They might work from 6 till 2. And then the next one comes on, you know, he'll stop the script. The next one comes on, and then he'll start the script again. So, and towards the end of my scam, I noticed that my scammer had very, very, very different personalities. Very different personalities. And that's a telltale sign that you're not talking to just one, you're talking to many. And they will also tend to send you messages during the wee hours of the morning. And why is that, Gayleen?
You're sleep deprived.
That's exactly right. Bingo. They do that because they want to make you sleep deprived, because when you're sleep deprived, you're not awake, and they know that you're going to make mistakes. Your brain will play up on you, and you don't make correct decisions. A lot of people say to us, but I saw him on video chat. He sent me a video, or I heard his voice. Of course you did. And yes, we know that this does happen. But you've got to remember, people, this is all now AI. Artificial intelligence is so advanced now.
And dangerous.
And very, very dangerous. I had video calls from my scammer. I saw him and his children on a video call. And I was convinced. My scammer said to me this particular night, oh, my sons are asleep in bed, but if you want to really meet them, I'll wake them up. And I said, no, don't wake them up. And he said, oh, no, it's all right. They're just coming down the hallway. I can hear them. So I'll call you back in a couple of minutes and you can say hello. So he called me back in a couple of minutes, and I saw him and his 2 sons. Now, they were talking, but I couldn't hear anything. Their mouths were going. Their sons were smiling at me, trying to have a look at the lady that their dad's talking to. It's artificial intelligence. They're stolen videos. They're stolen videos. A lot of women and men, their profiles are stolen. The same with celebrities. Profiles are stolen. They don't exist.
Far too many of them stolen.
And unfortunately it's out of control. And I know that the US is, I know that it's really big over in the US. I know it's really big in the UK, but Australia has only got 26 million people. We're tiny compared to the UK and US. How many people are in New Zealand, Gayleen?
About 50, I think it is.
50 what?
50 mil, is it? I don't know.
So you wouldn't go, it's probably more like 5 mil. You wouldn't be bigger than Australia.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's remarkable how big the scams are here.
Yeah, we're just a very, very small country.
Yeah, and there is a lot of scamming going on in New Zealand too. And Gayleen, she's just absolutely wonderful what she does for the victims over there.
The trouble is you don't hear a lot. And you don't read a lot. When I see them, I grab them quick, or otherwise I don't see them at all to put on page or even onto the group.
Mm.
And I mean, there's not really a lot on YouTube either, like the later ones. There's a lot that are years and years old. But yeah.
But it's still the same story, Gayleen. It's still the same story. It is still the same story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I've just had somebody say to me that hear them, so I'll call you back. Most scammers say they can't make video calls. It's all against the rules. It's a load of rubbish. It is a load of rubbish. Look, it really does upset me. And what really upsets me is when we have, and one other thing too, with the scammers too, with their victims, we are victims and we are victims of a crime. To us, we are not victims to scammers, we're clients because we're a business transaction. How terrible is that? That's just awful.
Disgusting.
Oh, I certainly don't like being labelled a client in a business transaction when it comes to scammers. No way in the world. Definitely not. Now, what I want to emphasise too is that a lot of people do have a lot of trouble getting out of their romance scam because they just don't want to leave them. You know, they will pay. They will continuously pay for that scammer to be with them. You're going to end up a very, very lonely person, a very broke person, and you probably are going to lose a lot of friends. You might even lose your family. They do so much damage. It's frustrating. It's
along with the emotions of physical abuse.
I really get wound up because I'm very passionate about this. Or we will get the victims. They'll come to us, and there is Alicia, Gayleen, yourself, and I, and we've got Ruth in the UK. We are really, really passionate people, and there is no victim shaming at all. When you're a victim, none at all. It is not your fault. That's one thing you must remember. It is not your fault. Yeah, I get really upset about it, actually, to tell you the truth. And so the victims will come to us and we will help them. And we've had some people get into another scam because the love bombing, the magnetism of the scam, that person doesn't exist. I'm sorry. And I know that the scammers are going to break hearts. I know they are. They're going to break your heart. They're going to break you. Look, we've had people come to us where they're on the verge of suicide. Gayleen, you can probably talk more about this. You've had a bit more involvement with this. Gayleen has been involved in ScamHaters United longer than what I have, and you've heard some terrible stories what scammers will do. What's some of the most evil things that they can do? And this is what we've got to get across to people.
Oh, gosh, I've gone blank.
Well, I know for a start, and that is that They will ruin you. They will leave you destitute. They will isolate you. You leave
And
your,
that's an emotional.
you do. You lose your sense of identity.
Yeah, you just feel lost. And the main thing is to go out and talk to people, not bottle it up inside. The
exactly.
more you talk and open up, if you need help, we are here.
Exactly.
You do need to talk to people.
And that's what I always say.
Don't do it alone.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh, no. Another good thing that I recommend too, this is only a personal thing, and that is some people don't have family that they can turn to, that I have friends, and the reason why I say that is because of the embarrassment. They don't want their spouse to know, or they don't want their brother or sister or mother or father know. They don't want their friends to know, or extended family, and they're fighting this alone. And when you come to us, everything remains strictly confidential. We do not tell one victim's story to another victim. No, definitely not. But what I do suggest, if you can't talk to them, and that is seek counselling. Seek counselling. And that is amazing. And there is places in Australia where you can seek free counselling. I think there's a place, what was it called? There's a place in Australia, I can't think of the name of it now, but there's a counselling service in Australia where you get 12 free counsel sessions a year. Is it Stay Safe? Oh, I'm not 100% sure from memory, but there is a place where you can. Headspace, for instance, with the sextortions, with the young ones. Headspace is mainly for under 25-year-olds. They can go to Headspace and get counselling. One thing also, another thing too, when getting back to pictures, and that is don't share any pictures of your family or children, of your own children. Don't do that. And because that'll get you into another scam, and it's another blackmail motive for them to do. Now, unfortunately, as we all know, or some of us mightn't know, but the last 18 months, we have had 3 young teenagers commit suicide. It's awful. It is heart-wrenching. It's just awful. Just some of the other things I was saying, that what the scammers will ask you, getting back to my original beginning, they will also, what's another thing they say to you? Have you eaten?
Yep.
Have you eaten? That's a very, 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 very well-known phrase. Okay, Gayleen,
Very
please
common. Oh gosh.
Have you eaten?
Have you eaten? That's the first thing they seem to say to you is, have you eaten?
Yeah. And the reason why they say
have
that
you
is,
slept?
I know. All they want to know is, how's your day, or what are you doing today? Who are you seeing? Where are you going? You've got no control over your life. They take complete control over you. Now, the reason why they say to you, have you eaten? Because in Nigeria, it's like a greeting to them. It's like to make sure that you're okay. And as we know, it's a very, very poor country. And look, don't take me the wrong way. Not everybody in Nigeria is a scammer, but unfortunately, it is the third highest income in Nigeria is a scammer, and the government does nothing about it because it brings money into the economy. We could go on and on and on about this. Yeah, that's terrible. Please remember that they will always say to you first thing in the morning, "Good morning, my love. How was your night? Have you slept well? Have you eaten? And what's your plan for the day?" They are the lines every scammer will say first thing in the morning to you. Every time. And when I was saying about how scammers have different personalities, with my particular scam, I remember one in my scamming. I probably had about 4 scammers who scammed me. But one scammer he was a nasty piece of work. He was very hostile and threatening. Really hostile and threatening. I remember once I had to contact him, and we had a code. If we wanted to speak to each other urgently, we would ring, and then we'd hang up. And we'd ring for three rings, and we'd hang up, and then that person would come on. Now, I remember this scammer said to me that he was going into a meeting. He was always going into a meeting, and I had to ring him urgently because I was at the bank trying to do a transaction, and he ripped literally the sheets off me, and he was really, really angry that I rang him, and obviously he was talking to somebody else at the same time. And as I said, with the scammers, 15-year-olds, that's just unbelievable. 14-year-olds, your average age of a scammer is between 14 and 25. Would you say, Gayleen?
And they're all trained. Yeah.
Sorry?
They're all trained.
They are all trained, and they follow the script.
All trained up. They're all trained up to do it, and yep, copy and paste.
Yeah, exactly. They do. They copy and paste, and also
like the F accounts.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We'll get to that in a minute. But their grammar is appalling, absolutely appalling. And you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. I've just got this really, really lovely poem from him, and he said he's written it himself. And then 10 minutes later, he's talking again, and his grammar is absolutely awful. It's a grade six, who's talking. It's just terrible. Now, the ad accounts. You're more versed on this, Gayleen. Can you explain what the ad accounts are, please?
Okay, now we've got F accounts out. These are all fake. They're using military, oil rig workers, doctors, even celebrities. They use anybody's picture like it could be Jericho, but underneath it has an @
The @ symbol.
with a number.
Exactly. You know, like might have.
They could be new accounts made up where they might have 1,000 followers already, and what's that?
I was going to say with the accounts,
500
sorry,
likes, and then posted on that account.
And when we say the ad accounts, I wanted to express that a lot of people probably don't quite understand, but with the ad accounts, it'll be, especially on Instagram, it'll have the @ sign, then it'll have the profile's name, and then it'll have a number on it. Now, with those ad accounts, when they've got the @ symbol, they are scammers. So, for instance, Eric Todhill, he's a general who's unfortunately his image is scammed all the time. If it just had his name, that's fine. But none of his profiles have just his name. They will always have the @ sign and then the number.
And he's not on Facebook either. He's not on any platforms.
No, exactly. A lot of the generals aren't on military. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Military generals are not on social media. They're not on social media. Look. For instance, our poor dear friend Edward Bryan. Now he's got thousands of fake accounts, and you can always tell they're fake accounts because they've got the @ sign. So you've got to be very, very vigilant. And it doesn't always come to us. It doesn't matter how silly you think the question is or how embarrassing the question is. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is off limits. If you've been involved, as I said, in sextortion or blackmail, please come to us. We're only too happy to help. And we can give you the guidance of what to do. We can tell you what you should do. But coming to us, you have to be prepared to put in the hard yards, because otherwise, unfortunately, you're just living in a fantasy, and it's going to continue, and you're going to continue being hurt. And that's what we always say, isn't it, Gayleen? You've got to be really, really wanting.
Exactly. Yeah. Not turn around and say yes, you'll do it, and then 5 minutes later you have gone back into another scam.
Yeah. Another thing is also, we haven't got much time left, but another thing is money muling. Now that's a big one. Oh my goodness, money muling. That's really worrisome here in Australia and New Zealand. And that is, a scammer will send money to your bank account. It happened to me. And they would tell you to go to the bank, withdraw that money, or send it on to another account. For Pete's sake, don't.
Sending through Bitcoin.
Don't. You know, they will always say Bitcoin or MoneyGram is another one. They'll ask for MoneyGram. But please do not get involved in money muling. It is a criminal offence, and it can incur jail time. Even though you think that you might be innocent, you are participating in their crime, unbeknownst to you. There is so much to learn. I'm still learning. Gayleen's still learning. Everybody is still learning. We are all volunteers. We are not counsellors. I personally had experience. I know what it's like. It's just awful. I was lucky where I had my family that I could turn to, and they listened. And as I said, once again, not many people have that. And that's why we are here. So if you're having any problems, please come to us. We've got a page and we've got a private group. The private group is where everything is done behind closed doors, and we will help you. Is there anything else you want to add to this, Gayleen, before we finish up, love?
No, I think there's another one with accounts being verified. There's a lot of accounts out there that they'll have a profile picture as verified. That's no.
Yeah.
Also, they might have a different coloured tick instead of the little blue one, which is always by their name. Nowhere else if it's verified. And that's one way you can tell whether it's a fake or whether it's genuine. If they've got the blue tick in the right place, yeah.
I've got a verified account myself on Instagram. If anybody doesn't know what it looks like, just look up my name on Instagram and you'll see it, and I've got my verified tick. The last parting words I want to say is, with the celebrity scams, please, please, please do not comment on their pages, because you're not talking to the celebrities, you're talking to the scammers.
Exactly, yeah. And even by commenting on any posts of anyone, you'll end up getting scammers.
Of course you will. And they will always have, and what they do too is that they've got your profile, and after you've been scammed, they actually sell your profile onto other scammers. A lot of people don't know that. Isn't that correct, Gayleen? They will sell you onto other scammers, so they will try and scam you. So it's a continuous cycle. There is just so much involved. Please, everyone.
So I was going to say, anybody gets friend requests that you don't know and look suspect, block.
Exactly.
Don't accept, block it right there and then, and stop anything coming through to you to try and scam.
Exactly.
And that's probably the biggest thing too, is don't accept them as a friend.
No, exactly. And remember, everyone, you're not alone. We are here.
We're here.
We're here. Now, willing, ready, and able. I'm retired. Gayleen's retired. So is Alicia. And we are here the whole time. And just remember that don't continuously scam, because you can get added to their sucker list. And that's what they call them, is a sucker list.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Gayleen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope that this has brought education to everyone.